Good morning, staff and students, and welcome to our Week 8 Assembly. I'm Dan Canellis and I'm your boarding captain and your MC for this morning. Can I please now call Mr. Weeks to the lectern?
Good morning, gentlemen, and good morning, staff. It's not every day you get to meet the Prime Minister, and this morning I just want to do a quick acknowledgement of Jacoby Fernando. Ms. Curie, if I could just get the slide, thank you. And we're just going to do a quick acknowledgement this morning before we actually invite Jacoby up. But last Friday, Jacoby had the privilege of meeting the Prime Minister, some dignitaries in the government, and it was a part of the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation, or AIEF, Sky News and The Australian. They invited Jacoby to speak at the summit, the Education Outlook Summit, or the Economic Outlook Summit. And Jacoby went there last week. The following day, this article came out in the Weekend Australian, and just before we invite Jacoby up, I'm just going to read part of it. I won't read the whole article. I'm just going to read part of it, what they wrote about Jacoby. And it said this: a long process of rediscovery inspired the acknowledgement of country delivered by 15-year-old Jacoby Fernando to Anthony Albanese and the crowds of hundreds on Friday. The address was years in the making for Jacoby, a proud Gamilaroi man from Moree in northern New South Wales. He performed the acknowledgement of country in both Gamilaroi and English to the Economic Outlook luncheon hosted by the Australian and Sky News. The milestone marks an important moment for the Year 10 student, who's been a boarding student at St Greg's, Campbelltown since 23, thanks to the Australian Indigenous Education Foundation scholarship. As a young Aboriginal man, this is the words of Jacoby, I was never one to be given assistance and support, Jacoby told the crowd, but to be given the opportunity to attend the school of my dreams and to be open to a number of great opportunities, can't thank AEIF enough. He also went on to say that he hopes to attend university, study PE, and to support young people through the unifying power of sport. When he graduates from Year 12 in 2 years' time, he'll be the first person in his immediate family to complete secondary education. Not every day that you get a student to meet the Prime Minister. It's not every day you get a student who has an article in the Australian. And this morning, we're going to invite Jacoby up. We might give him a round of applause to our acknowledgement of country.
Good morning, my name is Jacoby Fernando. I'm a proud Gamilaroi man from Moree. I wish to acknowledge the lands on which we meet on today, the Dharawal people who are the lands on which we meet on today. I wish to extend this respect to all elders, past, present, and emerging here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacoby. Please stand as we sing the national anthem proudly. Please be seated. Could I now invite Mrs. Clark, Sam and Joseph to the lectern for prayer and to discuss the upcoming immersions this coming holidays.
Morning, staff and gentlemen. I'd like to begin this morning in gratitude for all of those who have contributed to our Marist Solidarity Appeal during the Lenten period and during Champagne Week. We have already raised a very healthy amount to send off to Australian Marist Solidarity. I want to make sure that you know and you appreciate what a difference we make in a few of the 600 schools in 80 countries around the world. But when we think about solidarity, and that's where our money goes off to Marist Solidarity, we have to remember that it means more than just giving money. Solidarity means recognising, respecting, collaborating, and helping other people in our global communities. It's about relationships, or what you very familiarly know as family spirit. And one of the ways we build this family spirit with our global communities is through immersion. And I'm often asked the question, what is an immersion? So I'm going to try and explain it to you with these 3 photos you can see on the screen. When we visit another place, we might go on holiday. So you can see that first brightly coloured photograph. Many of you would have been on that type of a holiday, just for rest and fun and relaxation. The second photo there below it shows how you may go on a trip as a tourist. So with your camera and with your map and looking at all of those places that are well known in an area. So for example, if you go off to Rome, you'd go to the Colosseum and you might go to the Vatican. An immersion is the third kind. An immersion is a kind of trip where you actually go and you live with the people in that place and you do what they do on a day-to-day basis. And you can see in the third photo there 3 of our young men from last year in a classroom in Suva in Fiji, where they spent a lot of their time, and then they went home with those young people in the afternoon and spent the evening with them, had a meal with them. So this is what an immersion's all about. It's about going to a place and living with the people. So I'm very excited now to introduce to you the students and the staff who will be on immersion during the next school holidays. So gentlemen, if you would stand up please, and the staff that are joining them. So we have 2 immersions happening during this holiday break. The first one going to the Champagne Institute in Suva, Fiji, Mrs. Sliger and Mr. Komet, and they are accompanied by Braden Bowen, Will Dedgeling, Ben Dolan, Marcus Federico, Nicholas Larson, Jason Lee, and Zach Moroney. And accompanying me to Marist places in Timor-Leste are Mr. Gannon, Corey Arentz, Oliver Bishop, Joseph Bradley, Zarek Dalal, Arthur Hackett, Mitchell Moss, and Dylan Wolfe. Our job in these places is to be exposed to a different culture and to gain knowledge of the work of Marists in Fiji and in Timor-Leste, as well as being ambassadors for our college here at St Greg's. So I'm going to invite now our leaders from Year 12 to pray a blessing over us.
We will now pray a blessing over our pilgrims. Please join with us in the second part of the blessing. All-powerful God, you show mercy toward those who love you, and you are never far away for those who seek you.
Remain with your servants on this immersion experience and guide their way in accord with you.
Shelter with them your protection and allow them to share the time of grace given to us by God as they meet new people. Be their companion on the journey and bring them home in safety. Amen.
Marston and St. Gregory,
Pray for us.
Mary, our good mother,
Pray for us.
and let us always remember to,
Pray for one another.
and the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We wish our pilgrims well, and we look forward to hearing their stories at an assembly next term. Thank you, Mrs. Clark, Sam and Joseph, the staff and gentlemen that are heading to Timor-Leste and Fiji over the coming break for immersion. We all wish you safe travels. It is now time for an agricultural presentation. Can I please call upon two visitors to the college to make this presentation? Mr. Michael Brennan, the President of Group 5, and Mrs. Wendy Woodward, the Vice President of Group 5.
Thank you. As you're aware, my name is Michael Brennan, no relation to Matthew. Thanks very much, Principal Matthew, for allowing us to come here today. We've come here today to recognise the support that this college has given us over 40 years. So just to let you know who we are, we represent South Coast and Tableland Show Societies, known as Group 5. We're one of 14 groups in New South Wales, and those 14 groups then make the ASC, which we now call Ag Shows New South Wales. So we represent 190 shows in New South Wales. So a lot of people probably don't realise that Ag Shows Australia is the biggest volunteer organisation, volunteer man hours in Australia. A lot of people don't realise that. But we're here today to recognise the school over those 40 years. And St Gregory's has always been known as very strong in the wool industry and has hosted competitions here. Jeff Mayo, that I followed in the early late 80s, early 90s, he used to come to St Gregory's College and run the competitions on his own. I don't know how he did it. Must have had a lot of help from the school, because we have a fantastic team of 6 or 7 people now that run these competitions. In the last 2 years, we've had some of your students have been very successful at Sydney Show. In one of my passions is the dairy industry. The last 2 years, St Gregory's College has won the dairy judging. Last year had reserve champion as well that year, had a first place champion in the fruit and vegetable judging competitions. So those competitions that we manage, there's 7 of those that at Sydney Show, and your college has represented us in most of them over those 40 years. The judging competition actually started in Group 5 in 1975 and was founded by Jeff Mayo. And then at Sydney Show in 1981 was the first dairy cattle, and then in 82 beef cattle. In 84 and 85 the sheep competition started. So we just wanted to acknowledge the fantastic ag teachers that you've had at this school over many years. I know we've got Hayley and Ed's going to come out, come up, and we just want to recognise especially those great mentors that have helped this school for many, many years. And because it's over 40 years, we can't just recognise one teacher. So we're recognising the school, and it's for the whole school and all the teachers that have supported us over the last 40 years. And we just want to show our appreciation for what St Gregory's College has done for us.
Thank you, Michael and Wendy, for coming to St Gregory's College to make this presentation, and to Mr Stefanski and Miss Mahoney for representing the college on behalf of our agriculture and show team. Could I now please invite Will Carter, also known as Peter Pan, and Joshua Heelan, also known as Captain Hook, and some of the other Peter Pan crew to share all things musical.
You know, when I think about childhood and about being a kid, there's so many things that I miss.
Me too. I remember watching Jake and the Neverland Pirates for hours, heading to the playground, crawling through a bookcase with my Giggle and Hoo toy, witnessing blood for the first time, being put in such distress that I cried for 2 hours straight.
Yep, and then there's Mario Kart and lollies and just giving no cares or worries in the world. You know, I'd give a lot to be a kid forever, don't you think?
Nah.
Why?
Well, you miss out on all this. And assessments and classes and uniforms and responsibilities and pressure and studying and all that good stuff.
I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Fair enough. But you know, this does sound familiar. A kid who doesn't want to grow up and an adult who's so bitter and angry. He just wants to take that kid down a notch.
Nah, it doesn't ring a bell. For being honest, I think it's a bit of a stretch.
No, I'm sure this is a real story. Like an actual thing. Like a really, really old story.
Oh, yeah. And it's got all of those native tribes people. And a family and a girl who wants to fly. Oh, and a crocodile and a fairy. Oh, and all of those Lost
Pirates!
Boys. Yeah, I see where we're coming from now. Oh, and what's it called? Neverland. Wendy and the Naughty Kids.
Aha!
Peter Pan.
I think I'll have you know it is called.
Are you sure?
Methinks I see a spark, a gleam, a glimmer of a plan, with which perhaps I may redeem the honor as a man. Kidnap and seize the boys, and you'll have hooked the bank, for when the time is ripe, you see the children walk the plank. Oh, and was such a princely plot concocted by another, to murder all the boys and keep the Wendy for a mother. Tra-la-la-la, 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 tra-la-la-la. Oh, I keep the Wendy for a mother. To the ship.
We hope you enjoyed this short promo of musical Peter Pan showing next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night here at the college, and we would love to see all the Greggs community come along for a night of entertainment.
And a big thank you to all the people who've been working hard behind the scenes to make this happen. Follow the link on Central to buy your tickets, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
Thanks, Will and Josh, and the amazing staff and students in this year's musical. We are looking forward to the performances next week. Can I now call upon Miss Sliger to share some of the successes of our AFL boys and cross-country boys, and Mr Tyler to share some news about ISA Rugby and the Peter Mulholland Cup.
Thanks, Dan. Can I get all of the boys who played in the AFL tournament at Blacktown to move to the side of the hall? And could I also get the cross-country runners who ran in the CCC cross-country carnival recently? That was all the people who placed at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival and who ran at the CCC Carnival. Could I also get the boys who played in the AFL Southern New South Wales team also to move to the stage? That was the boys that were selected for the Southern New South Wales team. All right. So I've alluded to some of the exciting things that I'm going to be speaking about here this morning. And I will start with the AFL Schools Cup. We've had quite a lot of developments in the area of AFL here at St Greggs, and I'm really excited to have been involved with AFL teams and players throughout this year. I'll start with the Schools Cup. So this is the first time this year that St Greggs has played in the Senior Schools Cup tournament. In fact, we were invited to put a team into that competition, probably on the back of the fact that we did really well in the Junior Schools Cup tournament last year. And we did put a team together, and we actually had a hugely successful day at that Schools Cup team, and with a clean sweep of the day, emerged as the Western Sydney Senior School champions. And I'd like to introduce you to the players of that team this morning. From Year 9, Hudson Prenter. Mr Brennan, could you give these boys a handshake, please? From Year 10, Hunter Cowlishaw. William Fleming. Thomas Gill. Hayden Hall. Kai Hughes, Jem Khan, Finn McLeod, Ethan Matthews, Isaac McCormack, Kai Runtsman, and Ricky Williams. From Year 11, Sebastian Francois, Archie Gay, Jackson O'Hare, Aidan Richards, Preston Smallwood, Darcy Smith, Cooper Tulakiba, and Tyson Walker. From Year 12, Harry Davies, Noah Henley, and Kobe Holland. So we had an excellent day with this team, and as I say, it was a clean sweep. We beat the likes of Westfield Sports High School and Endeavour Sports High School, as well as St Pius X Chatswood. And those schools have much bigger AFL programs than we do, but we were managed to take big wins in each of those games. Our success there allowed us to progress to the state final, and the state final was held on Wednesday of this week. Our success was not as overwhelming at that tournament. We did have to replace a few players who were unavailable to play because of commitments in the classroom and on other sporting fields, as well as some injuries and illness and things. And whilst we did have a good day on Wednesday, we didn't have the success that I guess I had hoped for. But can I get you to congratulate our AFL team, who are the Western Sydney Champion School. Gents. I'd also, still on AFL, like to talk about the pathway for individual players. The pathway is quite a long pathway in that there's quite a number of steps along the way, and it's quite difficult to gain selection into representative teams for AFL. But we very impressively had a number of students that were selected to play in the Southern New South Wales team. And I'd like to, again, Mr. Brennan, ask you to present a handshake to the boys that were selected for that team. They were Archie Black, Hamish Butler, Reuben Evans, Xavier Young, and Hudson Prenter. The Southern New South Wales team that these boys were a part of, obviously with students from a number of other schools as well that made up this team, played at a further selection tournament a few weeks ago. And in that tournament, can I get another handshake, please, Mr. Brennan, for Hudson Prenter. Hudson was actually selected into the CCC tournament, into the CCC team, and that's a massive achievement. There were very few students from any Sydney schools, so to have Hudson be selected into that team is an absolutely incredible achievement. So a big round of applause, please, for these boys. Gents. Finally, on AFL, I'd like to put a plug in for the fact that we will be playing in the Junior Schools Cup coming up very soon. So students in Year 7, 8 and 9, keep an eye on central notices and things, because we will be calling for players who are interested in trialling for the Junior School Cup team. In Term 3 also, there will be Parramatta Diocese teams selected in both the junior and the senior tournaments. So again, if AFL is your thing, or you think perhaps it might be, it certainly is a fun game, and many skills are required, many skills that lots of you do have. So look out for those two things coming up. I'll move now. Let's turn around because I have a different hat on now. I'll move now to talking about the cross-country tournaments. All right. So, as you know, cross-country is also a very gruelling event, definitely not for the faint-hearted and not for the faint-legged either. We made our presence very well known when we attended the Parramatta Diocese Carnival earlier in the year. That tournament, or that carnival I should say, we had a number of students who were placed very highly in their age groups. And it's those students that I want to introduce to you again today and have Mr. Brennan shake their hand. So in the 13 years, our place getter was Lachlan Arentz. Lachlan came 5th in the 13-year event. With that placing, Lachlan then progressed to the CCC race, and at CCC, Lachlan placed 18th in that field. And I must mention, these are very big fields that we're running in. We're talking 60, 70 competitors in these races, so it's a huge achievement to be placed so highly. In the 14 years, we had Owen Richards. Owen was the gold medalist at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival, and hot on his heels, Nicholas Nardis. Nicholas came 2nd at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival. So of course, on the back of that, both of these boys progressed to the CCC Carnival. Owen was placed 5th at CCC and Nick was placed 12th at CCC. In the 15 years, again, some exciting results. Cooper Clugson. Cooper came 2nd at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival, and Cade Burgess. Cade came 6th. And again, that allowed both of these gentlemen to progress to the CCC race. And at CCC, Cooper was placed 8th and Cade was placed 18th. In the 16 years, our runner in the 16 years is Nathan Salter. Nathan placed 5th at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival. So, of course, progressed also to the CCC tournament, where Nathan was placed 27th. In the 17 years, our runner is Lucas Grimer. Again, Lucas was the gold medalist at the Parramatta Diocese Carnival, which of course meant that he ran at the CCC Carnival, where he was placed 3rd. So as you can see, we have some very impressive runners. Finally, in the 18 years section, Darcy Kerr, I believe, is not present, but Darcy came 2nd at Parramatta Diocese, and Tom de Zeppelin came 5th at Parramatta Diocese, which of course saw both of those boys also run at the CCC Carnival, where Darcy was placed 12th and Tom 38th. So congratulations to our runners in cross country. Thank you, gents.
Morning, staff and students. Today I'd like to acknowledge 7 students who were successful in making the ISA representative rugby teams. These teams play against the likes of GPS, First 15, Second 15 and CAS, where our under-16s carnival is actually being held here in 2 weeks' time on Saturday and Sunday. Could I please ask Mr. Brennan to shake these fine young gentlemen's hands? Firstly, we have Mace Hillcoat. Preston Smallwood. Luke Cannon. And Cade Chapman. Now, also in their absence, Noah Spiteri was successful in the Opens ISA rugby team, and both Thomas Goodfield and Kai Runsman in the 16s team, respectively. Can we give these boys a round of applause, please? Finally, gentlemen, I just would like to discuss our next Thursday, our first grade rugby league team play their final match of the Peter Mulholland Cup in the round games against Bass High School. This game is at Leichhardt Oval at 4:20. This game is a must-win and a do-or-die match, so we as a college would really love your support. We understand Thursdays is quite difficult with sport and the time of the game and the location. If you are interested in this game, we have notes available at Student Services for all students willing to go. The college is providing buses, supported buses, to and from the venue. So if you are interested, would you please collect a note from Student Services and bring back to either Student Services or myself by Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Sligo and Mr. Tyler, and thank you for congratulations to those boys and their successes on the sporting fields. Can I please now call up Mr. Brennan, our college principal?
Well, good morning to Brother Ernest, representing the Brothers community, to staff and to young men of St Greg's. Again, a very varied assembly with showcasing a number of great things about our community. Made me think a couple of things. Just first of all, looking at the change of setup today and the amount of work that it takes to put together the musical. And I'm really looking forward to it, watching it next week. And I would strongly encourage any student who can come either Thursday, Friday or Saturday night to come along, bring your family along, bring other friends along, and I'm sure it'll be a great night. Also want to thank, obviously, the staff who've put in countless hours to make this happen. And you've only got to look at the boat, and I know Mr. Profilio and others have done that, the curtains and props and things that Mrs. Doona's done, and then obviously the staff who are training our young men and the young ladies from St Pat's to perform so well. Takes a lot of work. We also had a chance to recognise the importance that agriculture places in this school. And as we know, in 2 years we'll be celebrating the 100 years. But it was opened as an agricultural college back in 1926. And so for us as a college to be recognised for 40 years of service to one of the local areas in our support of the shows means a great deal. We've also got a number of our students and staff, as we heard, heading overseas to try and make a difference. And I do want to thank the staff who are going, but also the staff, Mr. Coughlin, Mr. Clark and others who've been heavily, and Mr. Todd, who've been heavily involved in fundraising. And there's been huge amounts of funds raised through their initiatives. And whilst I think it's around the $17,000 mark at the moment, that's a lot of money in Australia. That is life-changing for communities both in Fiji and Timor-Leste, so I certainly recognise them as well. And then we've obviously had an opportunity to recognise our great sportsmen. So sitting there, I was thinking, we really as a community or as a young person or even as a staff member at St Greg's have got choices in life. And if we were to put it bluntly, we could either decide we were going to be a victim or we were going to be a champion. And watching people today get out of their comfort zones shows clearly they made a choice. There was once a young lady born as a very normal child called Helen Keller, and the staff would know those names, and any of the senior boys may have studied her as well. She was born like any other normal baby with perfect hearing, perfect sight, and had a very normal first 12 months of her life until the age of 1. She developed an illness where she lost both her sight and her hearing. So going from a world of the noise and what we see and the bright lights and the colours and all of the things that come in with life to have a life of complete isolation. She had a very difficult childhood, obviously going from what she did know, although she couldn't speak, she obviously had that stimuli to nothing. It was obviously it was a difficult childhood and difficult to look after her because she was often in fits of rage. It wasn't until one of the workers of the family home worked out a way to be able to communicate with her and developed a secret sign language, if you like, of 40 different signals and things to assist in her being able to communicate. So much so she was able to go to school, where she met another incredible lady by the name of Anne Sullivan, who then made it her life to continue to teach Helen Keller to communicate. Now, Helen Keller had a choice to be a victim or a champion, and through the help of many people, decided to go the way of a champion. Those who know her story will know she then went on to not only complete school, graduated universities, travelled the world as a speaker to people of all walks of life, but particularly the dignitaries around the world, a published author, a motivator. I share that story because often we can put ourselves in this mindset of being a victim. We mightn't have made a team, we mightn't have got a school report, we mightn't have got a job that we thought we should have. We mightn't have had a relationship with someone we really wanted. And we can throw the toys out of the cot and sulk, or we can get up and go again. And again, we look at the comfort zones that were broken today. To our two men in the musical, being in a choir is really hard, there's no question, but to actually put yourself out and do something theatrical, and there's only one other person standing on stage with you, is very credible, and it is probably incredibly frightening. The elder gentleman from the Ag Show Society, Michael Brennan, who we heard from, and I'll also say he's no relation, but he was talking to me before the assembly, and he was starting to sort of pan a little bit, and he's starting to talk a little faster, and he said he has real anxiety speaking in public. And it was only that somebody about 4 years ago actually sat him down and gave him some techniques to slow down his breathing, to reinforce what he was going to say, like he had a piece of paper, that gave him the confidence to do that. He could have stayed as a victim. He decided instead to be a champion. Again, we look at our boys who are giving up a holiday and our staff to make a huge difference to the lives of others, victim or champion. We look at the reports that boys will be receiving shortly after Year 10 and 7 to 10 doing their block exams, and obviously Year 12 are getting some results back at the moment, as are Year 11. You do poorly, do you take it as a victim, or do you turn it around and try and be a champion? The message to Year 12 is pretty clear. You've got a term to go and plenty of opportunities to turn that around. You've got a staff here supporting you, much as I said, Helen Keller had the support of Anne Sullivan and others. But the support means very little unless there's something intrinsically inside you that you want to make a difference. I don't want to embarrass Jacoby, but Jacoby's story as a young Indigenous boy from Moree. In my time here over 18 odd years, I've seen many boys come and go from Moree. Many being successful, but many finding the challenge of being at a school like St Greg's too difficult. Jacoby could have stayed in Moree, and sadly Moree, like many New South Wales country towns, is a town in crisis. Crime rates are high, motivation is low, attendance at school is poor, which is for some of you would say, well, that's a pretty cool life. I'm not going to be challenged to go to school. I'm not going to be challenged to go to bed early. I'm not going to be challenged about what I'm doing on my phone. But Jacoby decided he was going to make a difference. And how exciting is it for he and his family and for us as a community for him to be the first person in his family that will graduate from Year 12. And no doubt his life is going to take off champion. So the challenge I'll leave with you today over the course of the next couple of weeks that we have here together before our break, and then to Year 12, certainly in your last term in Term 3, are you going to be a Helen Keller? Get that intrinsic or that internal motivation, given you've got incredible support around this place with your families, with the incredible staff, with the facilities. Are you going to be a champion, or are you going to sit there and be disappointed and play the role of a victim? There are plenty of opportunities to be a champion. You can all be champions, and I certainly look forward to seeing your successes in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Please stand for the singing of the Subtul.
Thanks, gentlemen. That does bring us to the end of our assembly. We'll be heading off to period now one. Gentlemen, under the guidance of your year leaders and your teachers, have a fantastic Friday. Well done.
Just got to go down to the.